Welcome to an introduction to the annual percentage yield, or APY. In this video, we'll look at the motivation to the annual percentage yield, the formula for annual percentage yield, and a quick example. Let's get started. Before we look at the definition for the annual percentage yield, let's look at a common question when studying finance. Is 12% annual interest the same as 1% interest per month? To answer this question, let's compare two investments. Let's suppose we invest $100 in an account that pays 12% interest annually, with another $100 invested at 12% interest compounded monthly. Let's calculate how much we would have at the end of each year. Let's start with the 12% interest compounded annually, or one time per year. If we invest $100 into an account that pays 12% interest annually, we would use the compound interest formula, A equals P naught times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. My principal is $100 times 1 plus R is 0.12. N, which is the number of times interest is paid, is going to be 1 since it's only paid annually. And T is also 1 because we're only looking at 1 year. Putting this into my calculator, we would get $112 at the end of the year. Now let's take a look at the account that pays 12% interest compounded monthly, or 12 times per year. Once again, we need to use our compound interest formula, A equals P naught times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT. Our principal is still 100 times 1 plus R 0.12. In this case, N is now 12 since interest is compounded monthly, raised to the 12 times 1 since N is 12 and T is 1 year. Using our calculator, this gives us $112.68 at the end of the year. Our question was, is 12% annual interest the same as 1% interest per month? Well, we found that when it's compounded annually, we had $112 at the end of the year. When it was compounded monthly, we had $112.68 per year. Although these are close, our answer is definitely no. 12% annual interest is not the same as 1% interest per month. You might think, well, those are pretty close together. What does it really matter? Well, remember, we only invested $100. If we were investing $10,000, then that would be a $68 difference. The point here is not that they're close, but that they're different. In the account where 12% interest was compounded annually, or one time of year, at the end of our first year, we had $112 in the account, which means we earned $12 in interest. Although interest is paid only once, this would work out to be about $1 in interest per month, which would be equivalent to 1% interest per month on the principal. Keep in mind, interest is only paid one time in this account. I'm just saying it would be equivalent to 1% per month on the principal. In the account where 12% interest is compounded monthly, or 12 times a year, this account is paying 1% in interest per month on the current balance. But remember, with compound interest, each month when the interest is paid, it gets added to the balance. That becomes our new balance for the next month when again it earns 1% interest. If we took a minute to look at a compound interest table in this account, the first month we have $100. It earns 1% interest. 12% interest compounded monthly would be 1% interest per month. It would earn $1 in interest. So at the end of that first month, we'd have $101. That becomes our starting balance for the second month. But the second month earns 1% interest on the $101. That would be $1.01 interest, giving us $102.01 at the end of the second month. And then, of course, we have $102.01 as our starting balance on the third month. It earns $1.02 interest, giving us an ending balance of $103.03, so on and so forth. So each month it's earning over $1 in interest, with the exception of that first month. So that means that we're actually earning a bit more than 1% interest on our principal investment each month. So if 12% once is not the same as 1% 12 times, what percentage is the total percentage paid over a year for 1% paid 12 times? Really what we need to do here is we need to calculate the percentage change. To find the percentage change, we need to take the ending quantity minus our starting quantity divided by the starting quantity. So this means that we need to take $112.68. This was our ending balance in the account where it paid 12% interest compounded monthly, minus our starting investment, which was $100, divided by a starting investment, which was $100. This comes out to be 0.1268, which is 12.68%. So in an account that earns 12% interest compounded monthly, effectively, all of those little compounds each month add up to an overall growth of 12.68% over the entire year. And this quantity is known as our annual percentage yield. The annual percentage yield, or the APY, is the actual percent a quantity increases by in 1 year. Essentially, the annual percentage yield is the percent change of your money in 1 year's time. This means that you would take your balance after 1 year, subtract the principal, and divide it by the principal. There isn't a formula to find the annual percentage yield. This is the quantity 1 plus r over n raised to the n power minus 1. If you're curious to where this formula comes from, essentially, if the APY is the percentage change in 1 year, we take that balance after 1 year minus the principal divided by the principal. So the formula P naught times 1 plus r over n raised to the n, that would be our balance after 1 year, no matter what our principal, our interest rate, or the number of compounds per year was. If you notice, I've just taken that compound interest formula and plugged in 1, minus the principal, which is represented by P naught, divided by our principal again, which is P naught. But if you notice, all three of those quantities have P naught involved. And so we can go ahead and cancel all of those since they are a part of each and every quantity. Canceling the P naught leaves us with the quantity 1 plus r over n raised to the n power minus 1. Let's take a look at an example. Suppose we invest $4,000 at 5% interest compounded monthly for 2 years. Let's determine the annual percentage yield. So to do this, I'm going to use our formula. Our annual percentage yield is the quantity 1 plus r over n raised to the n power minus 1. In this case, our rate is 0.05. Since interest is compounded monthly, the value of n is 12. Notice here that to calculate your annual percentage yield, you don't need to know your initial investment or the principal, and you don't need to know the duration of time your money is in the account. Using our calculator, we get 0.5116 or 5.116%. This means that effectively our money is growing at 5.116% over the course of the year. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.